If you've ever wondered how to volunteer for a political campaign, you are in the right place. I'm going to tell you exactly how to get your foot in the door, what you do when you get there, and use it to launch a political career. What we're going to cover, number one, is how to get your foot in the door. You can't do anything until that happens. Number two, exactly what to do and behave after you get there. And three, I'm going to save this for the last, it's gold. How you use this to launch a political career of your own. Stay with me. Item number one, how to get your foot in the door. Do some homework. Do some research. Pay attention to what's going on in your community. If you have to, go look at the races that are going to be run in that particular year, primaries and general elections. Go look at the websites of political candidates who are running that year. Look at what they stand for and pick 2 or 3 that you really like. People that you would love to be associated with because they are trying to advance a cause in which you believe. That is a perfect fit because it's really hard to work for a candidate that you do not like that doesn't support anything that you stand for. It's that simple. Once you've done that, get in touch with them, especially those who may be involved in really, really competitive races. How do you find them? How do you get in touch with them? Well, most candidates have a volunteer sign up on their website. If they're smart, they do. Most of them have a phone number. Some of them have a headquarters. If you have to go knock on the door of the political candidate and say, I'd like to help you win an election, I will do anything that needs to be done. And guess what? They're a fool if they don't sign you up. That's one way to get your foot in the door. Once you have your foot in the door and they've agreed to let you volunteer in their campaign, now look for things to do. Most candidates send emails. If they're not sending emails, if they're not doing a campaign newsletter, volunteer to do it. Most candidates now use text messaging. Offer to write the text messages for a candidate. Most candidates, if they're viable and if they're in their right mind, are making posts on social media. So volunteer to help the candidate write video scripts for a YouTube channel. Help the candidate find things to put on Facebook or Instagram. Help the candidate find things to post on X or Twitter as it used to be called. Help the candidate learn how to do a TikTok video. So just a quick story about how this has evolved. There's a young man in New York, came out of nowhere this year, going from 1% in the polls in February to winning the Democratic nomination for mayor. This is not a commentary on his campaign message or his platform. It is a commentary on how he made adroit use of volunteers. He was everywhere. He started doing TikTok videos, YouTube videos. He would post incessantly on Facebook and Instagram. Over a period of time, people volunteered to help him do it. And if the volunteer walked in the door, he just says, we got all these things that need to be done. What would you like to do? And his volunteer base grew in leaps and bounds because he would let them do things that they enjoyed doing. In addition, there were some of them that says, well, I won't do that, but I really would like to go door to door. They would put up posters in communities. They would knock on doors. I know someone got into my apartment building in New York City and left a sticker on my door 2 days before the election. Out of 10 candidates, he was the only one who had a volunteer in my building who put something on my doorknob. 2 other things I'm just going to mention here in passing that all candidates need. When they're in public, they've got a schedule to keep. They're going to run into people that want to talk to them. And having someone staffing that candidate, being with that candidate when they're in public, iPhone ready to capture pictures of that candidate interacting with voters is pure gold when they use those pictures to post on social media. It says they're out there campaigning part of a community engaging people looks like they're listening if you do those pictures well. So traveling with the candidate can be an amazing experience. It also increases your access to that candidate, because if that candidate wins an election, guess what? He's going to know who you are, and there may be an appointment for you in that candidate's administration. One other thing that I will mention here is there is something that all volunteers can use to manage the media outlets that want to interview the candidate. Candidates need preparation for those interviews. Candidates need time to talk to TV, radio, or newspaper reporters that want to meet with them, and it's something else that volunteers can do in a political campaign. The point is, once you've volunteered for a campaign, there are hundreds of things that need to be done, things that you're passionate about doing, things that you like doing, things that you can do that will increase your skills and your value to future political candidates. I also mentioned that I was going to tell you how to turn this into an amazing experience. And if you want to do that, here are just a few rules to abide. Always be well-dressed and well-groomed. Why? The more professional you look, the more responsibilities you're going to get. It's just human nature. When you walk into a room, people make judgments about you before you ever say a word, based upon what you're wearing and what you look like. So around a campaign, always wear a smile, always offer to be helpful, look for people who need help, because you will advance pretty quickly in your responsibilities in a campaign if you do. Second thing is, always be as well informed about what's going on in that campaign as best you can. Now, how do you do that? Well, number one, if you're a volunteer looking to rise inside the campaign, put your candidate on a Google alert along with all the other people running against your candidate. You put their name there in a Google alert, and what happens is every day or whenever they appear in the mainstream media, you'll get an email saying what they just said. By keeping up with what your candidate's opponents are saying, by keeping up with what the media is saying about your candidate, you go to the headquarters equipped in the morning with a full dossier and a full knowledge of everything that happened the day before and what the candidate needs to respond to that one of his opponents said in some media appearance or on a street corner where somebody is there with a microphone. And it goes without saying, but I'm going to mention this. If you've volunteered to be at a certain place at a certain time, be on time. Actually, you should be there a few minutes early in case you need help with something that has happened. If you don't get the job done by the time it's time for you to leave, you always be the first to volunteer to stay late. And like I say, if you see somebody else struggling with an assignment they have, chip in and help and stay late, helping them get it done. That will get you noticed. If you're serious about turning this into something that you really want to do in a professional capacity, either as a political operative or a candidate yourself someday, look at what you're doing as a volunteer and look at it as one big, long job interview. Because if you become one of the campaign's most valuable volunteers, you know what's going to happen? At some point, they're going to offer to put you on the payroll, and now you can actually make a living doing what you used to be a volunteer doing. Happens all the time. I told you I'd say the best for last, and this is it. When you volunteer in a political campaign, you're going to meet other politically active people. You're going to meet people who are filled with energy and passion. People who just are in love with life, doing something to advance an important cause. Work hard at making friends when you're doing this. Work just as hard at keeping them. The day may come when you get bitten by a political bug and you decide that you want to run for office yourself. Well, having volunteered in a campaign, you got some idea of the rudiments and fundamentals of how to do it. You can never have too many friends. The better your network of talented and energetic, influential friends, the easier your chances of winning a future campaign when you're just getting started and you need close friends to help you put all of the pieces together. That is one of the greatest benefits I've seen volunteers get out of being involved in a political campaign, are the lifelong friendships that develop because of their activity and the good that comes from having those friendships when they get involved in politics going forward. Beneath this video is a link to a video I'm going to suggest, while this is fresh in your mind, go watch it. What you get by volunteering in a political campaign, go watch it.